Let me pose a question. Have you ever sensed that subtle tension, that restless quiet when you're by yourself? No noise, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. Most men flee from this silence. They leap from one relationship to another, desperate to avoid confronting themselves. They latch onto anyone, anything, to escape being alone. But here's the truth. The man who welcomes that silence, he transforms. In that stillness, something profound occurs. The noise dissolves. The need to impress, to prove yourself, to chase approval, it all fades away. What remains? Clarity, strength, control. The longer a man treads this solitary path, not out of resentment but by choice, the more powerful he grows. His mind sharpens, his standards elevate, his focus turns relentless. This isn't about shunning love, it's about rejecting weakness. It's about mastering yourself, so when you choose to let someone into your life, it's not from desperation, it's from a place of strength. Today, we'll explore why solitude isn't something to dread. It's the key to becoming unstoppable. All right, if you're ready, let's dive in. Number 1. Escaping the trap of approval. Seeking. Most men live chasing validation. They mold their words to dodge criticism, hide their true thoughts to maintain peace, and lower their standards to gain acceptance, often without even realizing it. They reply to texts too quickly to seem eager. They agree to things they don't believe in to avoid conflict. They say yes when they should say no, all because they fear being disliked, ignored, or forgotten. But a man who's embraced solitude, he breaks free from this cycle. He stops waking up asking, "Am I good enough?" Instead, he asks, "Do I respect the man I am?" That shift, from seeking approval to cultivating self-respect, changes everything. When you stop chasing validation, you begin to command it. When you no longer need to prove yourself, people notice you effortlessly. When you stop wondering, "Am I liked?" and start asking, "Am I proud of who I'm becoming?" That's when the paradox kicks in. The less you crave approval, the more it finds you. Women sense it. They feel when a man is grounded, calm, and in control, not because he's trying to impress, but because he's focused on something greater, himself. That presence is magnetic. Here's why. Most men are desperate to be chosen. They jump through hoops, soften their words, and shrink their standards, hoping someone will pick them. But a man who values himself? He doesn't lower his voice to fit in. He doesn't trade his principles for approval. He stands firm, and that quiet, unshakable confidence draws attention. When you stop chasing, you become the man who's chosen. When you stop explaining yourself, you become the man who's respected. When you no longer need someone's approval, you become the man who's admired. That's true power. Not arrogance, not ego, but a calm, quiet belief in your worth. A belief that makes people want to know you. So, if you've spent your life chasing approval, stop. Stop seeking attention. Stop bending your standards. Stop shrinking to feel accepted. Instead, ask yourself, am I living in a way that makes me proud? When you focus on building a man of integrity, strength, and purpose, the need for validation vanishes, and the moment you stop needing approval, that's when you start commanding it. Number 2, elevating your standards with confidence. When you stop seeking approval, something incredible happens. Your mind clears. You're no longer desperate to be liked, so you stop compromising, shrinking, or bending just to keep people around. In that clarity, your standards rise, not from arrogance, but from self-respect. You stop tolerating those who drain your energy, the friends who take more than they give, the relationships that leave you hollow, the people who only show up when it suits them. You see it all for what it is, noise, and you refuse to let that noise distract you. The same applies to women. You stop pursuing those who bring nothing to your life, the ones who play games, who expect you to prove your worth while offering nothing in return. You stop wasting time on shallow connections because you know your time is too valuable to squander on what doesn't push you forward. Instead, you become intentional, selective, powerful. You know what you want and, more importantly, what you won't accept. This shift transforms everything. When a man has clear standards, when he values himself enough to walk away from those who don't align with his principles, his entire presence changes. He doesn't argue, he doesn't beg, he doesn't play games. If a woman pulls away to test him, he doesn't chase. If someone disrespects him, he doesn't explain himself. He moves on, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with calm indifference, because he knows his worth. Most men fear setting standards. They think, if I'm too strict, I'll end up alone. But when you raise your standards, when you hold firm to your values, people don't walk away. The wrong ones do. The selfish, the disrespectful, the ones who were never meant to stay. They leave. But the right people? They step up. A man with standards who carries himself with quiet strength commands respect without demanding it. Women feel it. They know when a man isn't desperate, when he's willing to walk away rather than compromise his values. That's the kind of man they pursue. So, if you've been shrinking to fit in, tolerating those who drain you, or chasing relationships that don't inspire you, stop. Raise your standards. When you start living like a man who values himself, when you refuse to accept less than you deserve, you'll realize something profound. You don't lose people. You just stop keeping the wrong ones. Number 3, mastering emotional strength. Most men buckle under pressure. They react impulsively, snap when tested, or panic when things go wrong. Why? Because their emotions rule them. Anger shapes their words, fear drives their choices, loneliness dictates their relationships. But a man who's mastered solitude, he's different. He's faced his darkest thoughts, sat with them, wrestled with them, and conquered them. Because of that, he no longer reacts like someone controlled by his feelings. When someone provokes him, he doesn't flinch. When a woman pulls away, he doesn't beg. When life throws chaos his way, he doesn't panic. His strength doesn't come from others' approval. It comes from within. That kind of strength is rare. Most men never achieve it, not because they're weak, but because they avoid the silence. They drown their fears in distractions, bury their insecurities in relationships, and run from the stillness that forces them to face what's broken inside. But the man who embraces that silence, he grows stronger than anyone anticipates. He learns to pause before reacting, to think before speaking, to walk away from disrespect. Not out of fear, but out of power. When you carry that calm, steady, unshakable presence, something remarkable happens. People respect you. Women sense it instantly, the quiet strength of a man unmoved by her moods or games. A man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't need her approval because he's already whole. Weak men crumble under pressure. They fold when tested, trading their dignity for attention. But a man who's mastered his emotions, he's untouchable. No insult can break him, no manipulation can sway him, no rejection can shake him. He's not fighting for approval, he's standing firm in his self-respect. That's why emotional strength is the greatest power you can possess. Once you master yourself, no one can take that away. So, if you're feeling desperate, out of control, or ruled by your emotions, step back. Step into the silence. The man who can face himself, who can walk through the fire of solitude without running, that man becomes a force no one can shake. And when you reach that point, you won't just survive life's storms, you'll command them. Number 4. Unlocking razor-sharp focus. Most men live distracted. Their minds jump from one craving to the next, scrolling social media, chasing attention, wasting time on empty conversations that lead nowhere, not because they want to, but because they've forgotten what focus feels like. But a man who steps away from this chaos, who embraces solitude, he's different. When a man stops pouring energy into shallow relationships, when he no longer wastes time on meaningless connections, his mind sharpens like a blade. The mental fog lifts, his thoughts clarify, his priorities snap into focus. Suddenly he's not asking what should I do? He knows exactly what matters, his mission, his growth, his purpose. While others scroll, he builds. While others chase, he hones his skills. While others waste days in distraction, he stacks wins, day after day, brick by brick, crafting a life of power and discipline. Here's the secret most never learn. When your focus locks in, when your mind is free from noise, success doesn't just become possible, it becomes inevitable. Focus is a superpower in a distracted world. The man who can sit alone, fully committed to his craft, his vision, his purpose, he becomes unstoppable. This is why the solitary man rises faster than the rest. He's not wasting time chasing people who don't respect him. He's not distracted by relationships that drain his energy. Every hour he once spent seeking approval, he now invests in mastering his skills. Every minute he once squandered on mindless chatter, he now pours into building his body, his mind, his future. When you stack those focused hours day after day, something powerful happens. You move differently, your presence shifts, your energy grows stronger. People notice you, not because you're begging for attention, but because you've built yourself into a man they can't ignore. Women feel it. They sense when a man is driven, when his mind is locked on something greater than fleeting pleasure. Suddenly, those who once overlooked you are drawn to you, not because you chased them, but because you've become a man who no longer needs them. So, if you've been feeling lost, spending too much time on what doesn't matter, step back. Step into the silence. The man who can sit alone, fully committed to his mission, doesn't need to chase success. Success will find him. Number 5. Choosing relationships on your terms. Most men don't choose their relationships. They stumble into them. They settle because they're scared. Scared of being alone, scared of rejection, scared they won't find better. That fear weakens them. They tolerate disrespect to avoid being single. They compromise their values to feel accepted. They silence their voice to keep the peace. But a man who's embraced solitude, he's different. He doesn't chase relationships. He selects them deliberately, carefully, on his terms. He's not looking for someone to complete him. He's already whole. That's what separates powerful men from the weak majority. A man who's spent time alone, refining his mind, sharpening his focus, and building his purpose, doesn't tolerate nonsense. He's seen what happens when men sacrifice their dignity to cling to someone who doesn't respect them, and he refuses to be that man. His time is valuable, his energy sacred, his presence a privilege, not something to give away freely. If a woman brings drama instead of peace, he's gone. If she demands he lower his standards, he walks away, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with calm indifference. Because a man who's mastered solitude doesn't fear being alone. He thrives in it. Here's the truth most men never grasp. The moment you stop needing a relationship is the moment you become the kind of man women can't ignore. A man who isn't desperate commands respect. Women sense when a man isn't swayed by her games, when he doesn't cling, doesn't beg, doesn't lose himself to keep her interested. That's powerful because a man like that is rare. Most men crumble when a woman pulls away. They chase harder, panic, break their own rules just to feel wanted. But a man who values himself, he doesn't flinch. He knows nothing is more attractive, more powerful than a man who stands firm in his standards and walks away when they're not met. He's not afraid to be alone. He's not seeking love to fill a void. He's building a life so strong, so full, so meaningful, that only the right woman will earn her place in it. So, if you're tired of chasing, if you've been lowering your standards to feel accepted, stop. Step back. Focus on yourself. The man who builds his mind, sharpens his discipline, and finds peace in his own company doesn't need a relationship. And that's exactly why he becomes the man women fight to be with. Solitude isn't emptiness. It's where strength is forged. Every hour in silence sharpens your mind. Every moment alone strengthens your resolve. Every second you resist chasing what's easy is a second invested in building something unshakable, yourself. The longer you embrace solitude, the clearer your vision grows, the stronger your mind becomes, the more powerful your presence feels. And when you choose to let someone into your life, it's not out of need, it's out of choice. Because by then, you're not seeking completion, you're already whole. So don't fear the silence, embrace it. The man who can sit alone, calm, focused, disciplined, is the man no one can break. And when you master that, you don't just survive life's storms, you command them. Thanks for joining Inspired Echoes today. Stay strong, stay grounded, and until next time, keep cultivating your inner strength. We'd love to hear your thoughts or ideas for future topics, so drop a comment below. See you in the next video.